Shape it up, you guys. Kids! Hey! I didn't know you were back. Just now. Okay.
I never expected you to be up working.
Welcome to Live Action Star Wars. I'm Ralph.
I'm James.
And today we are discussing the Tosche Station deleted scene from Star Wars 1977.
Yeah.
We're not doing
classic.
it alone. From Star Wars Minute and many other podcasts, which we'll talk about later, we have Alex Robinson.
Oh, hey everyone, it's me.
And Pete the Retailer.
Hello.
Hey guys.
A whole band.
Thanks for joining us. When I decided to pick it, I picked it because the homework was very short. It's 5 minutes. And then I was like, you know what? Of all the things that we're going to cover on this show, I feel like this would be the most fun to do with you guys. Because I want to say everybody in the room, probably their favorite movie of all time is Star Wars.
Yeah. It's safe to say.
Yeah, I guess
Maybe
so.
Godfather for Alex.
Yeah, Alex is pausing.
Well, it's different between best movie and favorite movie, I think.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Well,
that works with me as far as just Star Wars is concerned. Yeah, I think The Empire Strikes Back is the best one, but my favorite is Star Wars.
Right.
Yeah.
So
it seems to change for me depending on the day of the week, and like I've always, when listening to you guys' show, whenever you've got a guest on who does their list of rankings, I do it along with them every time. And I can never come to a defined consensus. It stresses me out.
My ranking has changed and has been like steady for almost my entire life as far as the top three being release order, Star Wars, Empire, Jedi. Jedi has been bumped to the 4th spot in the last couple of years because of Solo.
Solo
of all movies,
3.
Solo.
Wow.
There's something about this, and it has to do with this Tosche Station scene where all the information in this scene is sort of redundant. We get kind of a pared down version of it in the Uncle Owen dinner table scene.
Right.
So that's like George Lucas, just like faster, more intense, get rid of all the BS background stuff and let's just get to the story. And Solo, I feel like, is that. It's just faster, more intense. Like, I know that we're getting more backstory for Han Solo than ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's still just
the way it's delivered is what you like.
Yeah. I like that Beckett is this kind of guy and that's it. Han Solo is kind of a little bit different, but everybody is there just one thing. And that's what I like about the original Star Wars is that
archetypes.
Luke is just a kid. Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so.
This scene feels a lot to me like the Jabba the Hutt scene in Docking Bay 94.
94.
Thank you. In that we get all the information in a different scene. We don't need this one. So why have two versions of it? But where he decided to put that one back in, this one he left out. And it's like, they're great scenes. I like seeing them, but like
that one was an excuse to show a CGI monster. If Biggs had been a CGI monster, I'm sure this would have been back in the movie.
I mean, we can imagine, can't we?
Why didn't they? It would be an interesting thing to go back and make, the people, Biggs, you have him show up, but that would be tougher. But to go back and make, like Cammy or Fix or an alien, why not like a Twi'lek, Cammy? They could have done that and done some.
But the thing I don't like about that is that
I don't like anything about it. I'm just saying they could have.
Well, one aspect I don't like about that also is the more aliens you have walking around in Tosche Station, the less culture shock you get when you walk into the cantina. Because part of the cantina is you're like, whoa, suddenly I'm surrounded by 100 aliens. Whereas before we've only seen, I guess up until this point, Jawas, and I guess I guess technically are not aliens in this context because they live on the planet, so they are the natives. This is the first aliens we've seen in the movie. So.
Well, then I don't technically, so aren't C-3PO and R2-D2 aliens
Well, C-3PO was born on Tatooine, so he would
Oh,
be. He
yeah,
would be.
Oh.
Oh,
He's
all right.
more of a native than Luke.
He's coming home. Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. So Luke is an alien.
And I'm
And
sure we'll
R2D2
find
is
out
an
that
alien.
R2 was
Yeah.
built on. Everyone was born on Tatooine to some degree.
We haven't gotten
Luke
that story.
is
Yeah,
Luke's technically what a Polis Masson or something like.
Yeah. He's an asteroid kid.
He's an Uber.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he can never be president of Tatooine, unfortunately, because he was never even born on.
It's going to come out in the
Let's run by the Huts.
those campaign ads.
Yeah.
Hurtful.
Oh yeah, the Coruscant campaign ads with the one senator going like that and the other going like that. But Luke. This scene falls in between. According to a clip I saw online, was supposed to fall right after the droids make their escape from the Star Destroyer.
Mm-hmm.
So the damage doesn't look so bad out here. It flies towards Tatooine, and then we get to the ship. This spot with Luke.
Right, the
Looking
second
up at
of
the
the
battle.
second of the Luke big scenes.
It's interesting because
Yeah.
when we see him looking up, it's like he's looking at the battle going on.
Right.
And it's
Right.
like, well, at that point, the battle's kind of over. Like they're not. There's
So
no,
I'm wondering if
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
I think that's the. So it's in 3 parts, right? The first part,
Yeah.
the first part, not Tosche Station, where he's out fixing the
Treadwell.
yeah with Treadwell, which was, but and a lot of this goes back. Like I think the layout of it, everything's different because they kind of spend time focusing doing one episode per character, but the radio drama has kind of a flow to it where you start to understand like, oh, okay, that's what's going on with. So that I think it was going to be more or less the very beginning where you're going to meet Luke, right, you see just the opening, Star Destroyer going overhead and the
cuts down to
and,
Luke.
and then then maybe I think we meet R2D2 C-3PO first, then we cut to Luke looking up at it, then we cut back to that, then the scene. So by the time he goes to get the crew from Tosche Station, the battle is over. The Tantive
Right.
is inside the Star Destroyer, and they're just looking.
It's
up
like
at him there's nothing.
it's like the WB Frog.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
What's
exactly.
that dude's name? He's like, here, look, I saw a battle. Oh no, you didn't.
Right.
and that's
It
why
sounds
they
like
all
he's-
sort of just take the mick out of him, and it's like, no, it's just a Star Destroyer. It's probably nothing. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is weird that he specifically says, "Oh, it's probably just fueling or something." So, which it sort of implies that there's 2 ships there. But
maybe.
if the Rebel blockade runner is inside, then it's possible when they filmed that, because the special effects, of course, were done last. So it's possible that because in the original version, the reason Darth Vader wore a breathing helmet was because he was going to actually be out in space.
Right.
Like maybe going from one ship to another ship, so maybe that was before they had the TNT.
Yeah, and
going up
if
inside.
like them looking up, they could sort of zoom right in, and they could see it sort of in that bit. So yeah,
Right,
them
yeah.
it fueling is actually quite a plausible explanation of that. I think.
I'd kind of like to see this put back in. And it's weird that when the special editions came out, Lucas put in the second big scene and not this one.
Not
Right.
in its entirety. Like we had that
That's true.
awkward
Yeah. We had to.
Yeah.
I don't
pilot
want to conflict
crossing.
anything else that he had
It
already.
does. Sorry, go ahead. What were you gonna say, Ralph?
I was going to say, because when I was a kid, the only thing I knew of Biggs was from the dialogue at the dinner table scene. And I didn't even understand that dialogue.
Right.
I didn't know he said when Biggs and Tank left. I heard as a kid when Biggs attacked something. Like it wasn't, I
wow.
didn't understand he was saying
yeah.
when 2 people left, because I didn't know what a Biggs was. And I didn't know what a tank. I didn't know tank.
They are interesting names, like Biggs and Tank. Like they don't sound like people, and not when like he's Luke or
Right.
Ben and Owen.
Yeah.
Like they're 3 really earthy names. Biggs and
Right.
Tank are not at all.
Right.
Yeah. And I knew Biggs from the space battle.
Yeah.
But
Right.
never even crossed my mind
Yeah.
those were together until I think the special edition. I may have seen the deleted scene on like a CD-ROM.
Yeah.
This
that's
is something where I think
behind the magic CD-ROM.
Yeah.
I am twice as old as the youngest of you here. So when I was a kid, and the Star Wars movie came out, and then there was no home video or streaming or
Right.
anything like that. So the way you would enjoy the movie again was by reading the comics or like the novelization. And all the big sequences are in the in the comics. So to me, this was almost like always part of it. It was weird for me when I actually saw the footage of it, once the internet existed. But up until then, reading the comics,
You knew the scene.
the big scene is right there, from the start. So
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I remember that being the case with the Jabba the Hutt scene in Docking Bay 94. Like we'd seen some behind the scenes. We'd seen the guy in the suit.
Yeah.
That Ralph may or may not cosplay at Celebration next year.
I want to do it. It's going to be the one year that someone else decides to do it.
You got to do it. Like we'd all seen those screenshots and stuff, so we all had an idea of what that scene was. But then seeing it in 97, it was just like
97.
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah,
94, 97.
I did have the bootleg Betamax, which is my that's why I'm going to start a club or something. But the bootleg Betamax version that I had, so I knew it wasn't in the movie, but I also had, my parents had taped the radio drama off of NPR, so I listened to that a lot, and it was in at least one of the versions of the storybook or something. There's the famous, just kind of like Luke and Biggs standing on the from the third scene, essentially them standing on that kind of precipice there and kind of looking up. And I totally, this was part of my, I had a in the vinyl kind of action figure case, where it had, you had a little label for each guy and you could put yours in. And I remember I had one of those little wind up, it wasn't like a licensed character from anything, but it was a little wind up robot that it was almost like a squat kind of Robbie the Robot body with a little plastic moving legs and a little dome head. And when I was playing, I just decided that was Treadwell. So I had my parents made up a little Dymo label that said Treadwell, and we put that in the case and put that with them in there. So it was Treadwell was definitely part of my.
It's been there from the start
early on, so at least that scene kind of made it in, and I think it's probably from the radio drama because that's the only.
I like that.
Was he named Treadwell in the radio drama?
Yeah. Luke says like, "Hurry it up, Treadwell!" Like,
oh, that's great.
Yeah. I re-listened to those recently, and they're amazing. I think when I listened to them when I was a kid, I didn't like it because it wasn't Star Wars. It was all the scenes that happen to the characters when they're off screen.
Right.
Like it's the same story. Like you
really kind of giving you a lot. Like they were trying to make a big deal out of like, hey, you want more Star Wars? Here's stuff that's not in the movie.
Yeah.
It starts off with Anakin climbing out of the lava, and then it just goes from there.
But you get like C-3PO's sort of journey towards the
Isn't his silver leg? Isn't his silver leg revealed in the?
I don't think so.
I thought they talked about. Oh, remember when someone put a bomb in my leg, and that's why I have a silver leg? I thought that was explained in the. It's not in the radio drama.
It sounds like a Marvel one shot for sure.
Yeah,
I like.
I don't.
I want to see that story.
Reading stories about 3PO's limbs.
Dude,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
But to see him going through that anxiety of having a bomb in his leg, like that would probably be his origin story, like why he is like gun shy about everything is because once somebody put a bomb in his leg.
So in the prequels, he should have been all like a cool,
totally
used car salesman type guy, and then something happened to him. Yeah. Well, so when you're talking about the special edition and how he put the other big scene back in, but didn't put this scene back in, and I think it's the smart decision because I feel like the original reason they cut it was because it really clunkies up the like you're following the droids, there's all this action, and then suddenly you're back on the planet with this kid. You're like, what, who, like, and it really it messes up the sort of nice other people.
Yeah, when you think about the pace, pace of that opening of the movie, like to cut back to Luke, like even once, but like for these three different scenes would have really slowed it down. Like it's definitely the right choice.
Well, yeah, that's it's either all or nothing. Like if you're constantly going back and forth, then that's fine. But if you just like randomly throw in one of these, just be like, what's going on? But I think it's two different. I don't think they're studio notes, but he basically on George Lucas's shoulder, there's the one being like, hey, we don't meet the main character until half hour, 40 minutes into this movie. Like, we got to do something about that. And on the other hand, it was like, don't make American Graffiti in space. Like, you've done that. Like, keep going.
Yeah.
And so
what would Kurosawa do?
Yeah. And
I feel like one of those angels was Marsha Lucas, from what I hear.
Right. Yeah.
Just like streamline this thing.
I kind of wanted this scene or a truncated version of the scene, like maybe take the stuff out of inside the Tosche Station, but have Luke seeing the battle and then cut to him going to Tosche Station and then seeing Biggs as a post-credit sequence in Rogue One.
I like that.
That'd have been interesting.
If they got a
That'd have
real
been a way
nice,
to do
cleaned up version, yeah. Because I want this to be canon so bad, and I guess I don't care about canon. I guess I can just whatever I want to exist exists.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, I do. It would have been fun to see this on the big screen, all nice and cleaned up.
The way I sort of see all of these things is if it's not contradicted later by something else, if you want it to be, then it is.
Right.
Like,
Sometimes,
and even if it does,
I mean, even if it is, it's better for my own head.
Head canon.
Yeah, that's it.
Well,
like you're talking about that.
I don't know.
Mine was
going to say,
completely off the rails.
Speaking of which, do you think then? I hadn't occurred to me, but will we see young Biggs, Fixer, Tank, and the gang in the Obi-Wan series?
Oh.
Here's the thing. Okay, have you guys Alex watched Rebels? Pete, you have not?
No.
There's a scene where we get pretty caught up to A New Hope. It might actually be around the time of the Obi-Wan series where we see the Obi-Wan animated Obi-Wan is now they've changed the model to look more like Alec Guinness and sound more like Alec Guinness. And there is a shot where Alec Guinness is kind of out in the middle of the desert and you see a young Luke Skywalker run out of the homestead towards kind of where the Sandcrawler would have been.
Yeah. The large,
and it's
where
kinda,
Shmi's body is buried.
Right.
Yeah.
Right past those tombstones.
The Shmi
Right on top.
They got rid of the
Memorial.
tombstones.
Yeah.
Once Anakin left, they just demolished them.
This will be a giveaway, not the surname. This will be a giveaway.
But I like that scene.
Oh yeah.
But
great.
I think they even took the dialogue, the Emperor dialogue of her saying Luke. Yeah.
Yeah. And that you've got the Twin Stones theme is playing, and it's like a sunset scene. I can see it, and it's at the end of Obi-Wan doing something quite major, not to give anything away, and it's like him going and just sort of hanging out on the periphery of the homestead and just sort of checking in and keeping an eye on Luke.
So we all agree we're going to see the gang as teenagers.
I feel like if we do
egging Obi-Wan's house or like TPing his house or something. You kids,
I hope it's
get
just
away
like,
from here.
Yeah, I
Well,
hope it's like 4 kids sitting in the street with their arms up playing dice and just heckling passersby, and Obi-Wan's one of them, and he just, I don't know. It can't be like the remote from Force Awakens where it's like, oh, look, check out this Easter egg. Like it just needs to be in the background. Do it like Zucker Abrams style. Just throw it in the background. If you see it, you see it. If you don't, you don't.
Well, I got spinning now because I'm thinking about like.
That's a good trick.
I want a I want American Graffiti in space. I want, now that we have all this established and we know who's who and what's what, I want and Disney Plus is a boon because we can we can make all these low stakes projects, but I want like American Graffiti, Dazed and Confused, what was the one of these.
Everybody wants some.
Like one of these, everybody wants some. One of
Give
these,
Richard Linklater a Star Wars.
Last night of school, last night of vacation, like things are about to change kind of movies with Biggs when he goes to the academy. So like a year prior, or whatever, 6 months, like when Biggs is about to leave, Biggs is having a party because he was about to leave.
Biggs
I want
Tank's
that
last
whole
day.
thing. Tank is there. Yeah, exactly. That's a perfect name for it. And we get, and then Luke being a little bit younger, more of a teenager, being more picked on, and he's like the Kurt or whatever from American Graffiti.
Of the
he's the McLovin,
the kid in Dazed and Confused, who's
yeah, totally,
yeah.
Speaking of confused, my wife watched this with me, and she's like, "What's the deal with Biggs being like 30 years old and Luke being a teenager, them hanging out?" And then she said, "Oh, is he like Matthew McConaughey?"
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm for
it. Was
it.
Biggs for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Can we get a Dexter's on Tatooine?
That'd be great.
Right?
Yeah.
Have them all.
The original Jawa juice.
Yeah. Like that is kind of how I've always seen it. Like I would love to see the scenes with Biggs and Tank together, because like Tank around that dinner table scene, like I was always the one who was like, okay, so we know what happens with Biggs, but who's Tank? What's Tank? And I remember it would have been like in the mid 2000s, one of the Dark Horse runs. They did a whole thing about who Tank was, and it was this diehard Imperial officer. So where Biggs joined the academy and went, "This is awful. I want to leave," and joined the rebellion. Tank went like hard into the Empire, and he and Luke
like a fox
end
and a
up,
hound.
yeah, basically, and like he ends up like confronting Luke after Star Wars, and they have a whole interaction. And Luke's like, "Dude, you're on the wrong side," and it's a whole thing. And I think he dies or sacrifices himself in the end, but yeah,
For the Empire or for the good guys?
For the good guys, because we met him like before, his name's Tank, like, because that is a nickname. Like he'd been in a previous arc, and
Tankowitz.
yeah, we never put it together. It was weird. But there's a whole arc with like the Amana Man as well, and like his old CEO was just on about slaughtering them, and he was like, "No, this is their planet." He was kind of an honorable but still diehard Imperial officer, and then he takes control of that unit, and then they end up going after like Han, Luke, and Leia and that side of the story. But yeah, it just you talking about that dinner table scene reminded me of it, and I was like, we do in Legends now, but like,
do.
yeah, those of us who read those comics, there were dozens of us. Like we did read about what happened with Tank afterwards, and it was like, this is cool. I'd like to. I mean, yeah, Biggs and Tank's last day would be amazing.
Yeah,
this is my favorite thing about the show is hearing all of the book stuff from James without having to read it.
That's great.
Get all
and it's so piecemeal because I've read it once years and years ago.
Yeah,
and like it's my vague memories of it. It's
Well, what's great about that is that every now and then you can sort of be like, you know what? I read a story once where there was an X-Men pilot who was like a horse. Did I just dream that, or was that? There's enough weird stuff in there. Did a moon fall on Chewbacca?
Oh, if Rogue Squadron happens, if it happens, which I hope it does.
Yeah,
I need Equos or whatever that Hohas. Yeah,
Hohas.
I picture him starting.
I'm Piggy. I want Piggy.
Like Fred Flintstone, where his feet are hanging from the bottom of it, and he starts it by running forward.
All four of them.
I was just talking to my friends on another podcast, which I don't know. This has nothing to do with this. Doing a Fast and Furious trailer, but with Flintstones characters, and then at the very end of the trailer, just showing all their bloody feet.
Family.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just pans up from the Coronas to their bloody feet.
Right. Yeah. But you'd have to have some kind of prehistoric pun name for a Corona. I don't even know what you would. Karak or something like that. Yeah.
Getting back to Treadwell. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, B.
Rolling Rock. It's just Rolling Rock. They just drink Rolling Rock.
Oh, but I mean,
you gotta get that. The product placement. You got to get that brand money.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was going to divert it to a different character from this thing. You were going to talk about Treadwell, though, who we've already brought up, Alex. I don't want to hijack the show, but I had a note about a character.
All right. Well, I'll just say but
let's talk about Treadwell.
It's actually not even. It's the very first opening scene, the first the cut scene where Luke's looking at the binoculars and he sees the fight and stuff. Watching it without like. These things only exist in like rough cuts with like no sound effects and no music or anything. And that scene of Luke watching the battle with Treadwell seemed almost without the music and stuff. There's just those shots of Treadwell looking up with just like it almost seemed like a real science fiction. It almost seemed much more like THX 1138 than it did like a Star Wars film. Anyway,
and that's what Luke is hearing. Luke doesn't get to hear the music and stuff.
Yeah.
So
it is weird how different it must be for the characters in universe without having John Williams' score behind everything that they're doing.
Right.
But the weird part is someone saying that about us right now. You know what I mean? They're like they don't hear the theme music that the listeners do at home, so it's weird.
That's it.
If I have a suggestion for anybody out there who likes the desert music from Star Wars. Yesterday, I was listening to the soundtrack for Time Tunnel, which John Williams also did, and a ton of it just sounds like Star Wars desert music, like Star Wars 77 desert music. So
So for your
Time
fan
Tunnel, the
films out
soundtrack.
there, like
Yeah,
that's what you
oh,
steal from.
I put it on while I was doing editing, or not editing, but like Photoshop stuff, graphic work for the shows, and I was just like, oh my god, this is like what I need in my life, just a soundtrack of Star Wars desert music.
You're
I'll pop
soundtracking.
the artwork. I'll pop the artwork right here. So
You
know
are
which
just
one I'm listening
soundtracking your desert island right now.
to. Right? Yeah, yeah.
Your desert island discs would be all just things that
Ralph's
evoke
Desert Island Disc Volume 1.
Rainforest sounds.
I was going to bring up Deke because we get a little like. Apparently, he's in here. I think he's the guy that is Biggs playing a video game against.
Somebody's
Here, I can
playing a
bring it
video.
up.
Yeah.
I'll bring it up.
Yeah,
Deek and Windy, yeah.
yeah, 'cause
Hey, shape it up, you guys.
yeah. Cammy and
That's
Fixer
the
are making
lamest.
out.
That is the lamest entry into a room. Hey, shape it up, you guys.
It's the reason why I don't want this scene in any of the movies.
It's like
'Cause
Luke's trying to be
Luke's
his uncle.
model.
Yeah.
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 So yeah, you have these two guys in the back. First of all, the person in the back is really silhouetted.
Mm.
And
Great hair,
I was
though.
yes. And I was like, I'm going to say that this is Amy Sedaris.
Oh,
That's
Nice.
great.
Because the hair matches
Yeah.
up.
The actress, not the character, right?
The character. Yeah.
yeah. What would she if Mandalorian is 5 years after Jedi, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
It
like
fits.
This would be about
yeah,
8 years
matches up.
before.
87, so about 10 years. Yeah, eight to 10
She's
years.
probably around
before,
the same
so.
age as Mark Hamill, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, around that.
Roughly.
Like close
Yeah.
enough.
So
But
I like it.
I
There
like
might
it.
be a
I like
mustache
it.
on this character. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But that when I saw that person, I was like staring at the hairline. But who's Deke? Is Deke the guy hanging out with Cammy? No, that's Fixer.
No, it's Fixer.
It's-
Fixer and Cammy are
Fixer.
making out. They're an
Right.
item. They're a couple.
Deacon Windy, right?
Windy's
Wasn't
the other one. Yeah.
Yeah. And I couldn't find a credit for Windy anywhere, but I found a credit for Deke.
Well, everyone knows it's Windy.
Well, that's why they didn't have to credit him.
I think Deke might be the one with the afro.
Okay.
Because you go onto the Wikipedia page here, and there's an illustration from something of Deke with like Luke hair but dark,
Oh,
and he's younger, so it's he might have grown it out, he might have curled it, but I think that it's going to be Deke is the one with the big hair.
well,
Amy Sedaris is
right.
Deke.
Amy Sedaris as Deke.
Yeah.
Well, Deke at least in the credit that I saw that I found online, Deke was played by Jay Benedict, who was also he's like Mr. Cutscene now, Mr. Sci-Fi Cutscene, because he's also Newt's
Constable
dad.
Zubio.
No, he's Newt's dad from Aliens. So
Oh,
he's
wow.
like Mr. Special Edition Cutscene guy. He's like, oh, hey, I was in Star Wars and Aliens, except not really.
Wait, Aliens with Hedge Sigourney Weaver, who Amy Sedaris is supposed to be.
I was going to say, it all connects.
There you
Mandalorian.
Yeah.
It's like poetry.
Ring theory.
Rhymes.
But also, yeah, sadly, no longer with us. But hopefully, he was a stoner because he died on 4/4/2020. So, if there's poetry to the galaxy, hopefully he was a stoner.
4/4/2020.
Yeah. So,
At what time?
but yeah, Deke.
Is-
So those are like
Do you have any other
second
acting
tier.
chops? Any other acting
Yeah,
accomplishments?
he was in a handful of things. Like he was.
We can see, we can
background
track
stuff.
him down in other projects when we want to do our CGI Deke.
Right, CGI Deke. Yeah, I'm trying to find. Let me see what other things he's listed for here. Let's see.
I should probably vamp.
Jay Benedict was in Come Back Little Sheba, Star Wars, Hanover Street, Victor Victoria, Lonely Lady, Dirty Dozen, The Next Mission, Aliens, Dark Obsession, Russia House, Shining Through.
The Shining sequel.
Yeah.
He's in the unknown sequels to a lot of big hit movies.
Oh, and here we got here's
I
two.
love all of them.
King Kong
his
lives.
Last two credits that I see on this page were both, notable. He was in RKO 281, which that was a fairly big movie. He played Daryl Zanuck, which again tie it all back around, right? Because isn't that
He's a guy
to the making of Star Wars and all that? But then in Dark Knight Rises, he played Rich Twit, So
Is that his character's name
Richard Twit.
Richard
or the
Twit,
character
Esquire.
description?
Goes by Dick.
Yeah. So yeah, that's I don't know. We could find him. We could see him in some stuff.
I think the only thing I've seen is that Aliens Special Edition.
Yeah.
Not seen
all
Dark
that.
Knight Rises?
Oh yeah, I guess so. I did. Yeah,
pretty
That's the one with
forgettable.
Bane. That's the one with Bane, right?
I
yeah,
think
that was
so.
one with Bane.
I don't know.
I like that one. I like
Really?
that one a lot. But I came out
You
of
like
it
a lot of bad movies, though, Ralph.
sweating. Hey, listen. I
In a
mean,
good way.
you know how they say everybody's a fan of something?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me.
Right.
That's Ralph.
You know what when I was watching the clip today, I
My best friend. To me, he's the best friend, Ralph.
that in Last Jedi, Luke kind of almost is rocking a sort of Biggs. You know, he's got the mustache and he has a beard too. But I was thinking it's almost like at some level he still thinks of Biggs as like the coolest guy in the galaxy. So when he wants to be Rey, he puts on a cape and looks all Biggsian.
I'm going to be honest. I think Biggs has the coolest outfit in Star
He looks
Wars.
great.
That outfit is
he
amazing.
looks great at the beginning of the scene. Like he looks like the cool kid who's come back to see his friend, and he's like, "Guys, I went away. I got away from this place, and look at me. I am just killing it out there."
The blue shirt, the white. He's got a jacket and a cape,
Yeah.
and it all works.
He's like a pre-Lando. He's like
Yeah.
the herald of Lando.
I like to think that he didn't have a mustache when he left either. He came back and he'd grown it out, and he's like, "Guys, like this is it now. This is my new
I'm
look.
cool. This
Did he have
This
the
is
cape?
what I'm going to be remembered for."
Did he have the
this is what
cape
they
when
wear
he
in the
left?
Corps?
I don't know. I don't think he
no.
had a cape. I
No,
think he
probably
looked more
just
like
like
Luke.
a farmer.
Yeah.
He was just like some hick, and then he comes back and he's suddenly a cape guy, like a big city guy with a cape.
We'll get that prequel, the American Graffiti prequel with Biggs, and we'll find out why he had got the mustache and why it means so much to him.
Yeah,
And,
cape,
Me like it less.
mustache.
No.
Yeah,
The end of the
So-
series will cut to a shot of that.
We're talking about prequels and everything that we'd like with Biggs and Tank and more of these guys, or when Obi-Wan seeing some of these characters again, which I'm all for because it's pre-existing characters, but not necessarily what Ralph hates with like the Filoni-verse characters being forced into everything. But
Moochie.
yeah. But with Rogue One being delayed, do you think that we're going to get something like a Gavin Darklighter type character from those books? Or anything where it's just like Wedge is putting together a team, and you know his old friend Biggs, he was always on about his younger cousin or something like that, who was also a really good pilot. So we get like a new Biggs in anything, or do you think they're going to do away with all of it?
I kind of want them to just move forward.
I agree.
I don't want more backstories, even though I love Solo and would very much love a Solo too. I'm ready to move beyond where we left off in episode 9, which I loved. So if you think I love bad movies, that's not one of them.
No.
The Rise
I
of
agree
Skywalker
with
is
you.
a great movie, and sorry, Alex.
hey, to each their own.
Yeah,
But yeah, I'd like it to move beyond.
I'm
Big
torn.
Junior.
I think for you know, again, having Disney Plus is such a boon because I think they could do big picture, literally big picture, you know, like move forward with the cinematic stuff, and then
Wedge in some big pictures.
there you go.
Put it in the hutch.
But then do, you know, on Disney Plus, you can have a little, you know, like a mini series essentially, like kind of the Marvel route where they're doing these kind of big cinematic things, and then they're like, oh, hey, you liked that character? Okay, here's another, you know, series with that character, you know, or like you were interested in this. Here's the thing about this, you know. So it's almost like their EU.
Along those lines, I would like them to do an anthology series where we can just do a 45-minute story about Biggs and these guys hanging out on Tatooine, and that's it. It's not we're committing to a trilogy where everyone has to have huge arcs, like, and then if people like it, they can do more of them. And if it's just a one-shot thing, it's just a one-shot thing.
I think that's something that all four of us have mentioned at various points is
Yeah.
with having Disney Plus and having that ability, I'd want to see them do different things, do different genres, do the HBO style documentary Talking Head, like about the Republic or anything like that. Do a West Wing style galactic politics show or anything like that. But just, it doesn't need to be what we've seen of Star Wars before. It can just be in that world, in that universe.
Could we have Snoke as the Crypt Keeper?
Totally.
Just telling stories. That'd be great.
Like, because I was thinking about it yesterday about an anthology for Star Wars, but if there's some sort of narrative like Rod Serling or something,
Right?
Like, is it a droid? Is it a droid entering a data bank? Is it would they do that?
Foden Bede, the pod
man.
racer sportscasters doing the
Have you guys seen the Lego Star Wars
Droid Tales?
No,
The new one. The
Halloween
Halloween
special
one.
that they just did.
I haven't yet. No.
It's a lot like that. It's an anthology connected with a there's a framing device, and it's Vader's attendant Vene, who's kind of going through, and there's a plot kind of around the whole thing, but it's mainly an anthology of these like spooky stories, and it's
the holiday special that they did last year, the Christmas one, was really fun.
Right,
So yeah, I do
idea.
keep on meaning to watch it.
I feel like I was a little bit disappointed in that because of the name holiday special. I had such an idea built up, but then I'm like, oh, once my kids loved it, I'm like, oh, okay, this is fine.
There was nods to the original holiday special that I quite enjoyed.
Yeah,
we recently watched the holiday special for Life Day. It's airing on Life Day, but we already recorded it, and this is going up after. Anyway,
all right.
I really enjoyed it this time around. I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. And watching that Boba Fett Under the Helmet documentary, Lucasfilm definitely has a really good version of the holiday special somewhere. And
they showed it to the people working on episode 3 to get the Kazook scenes like down when they were building it out in CG. They're like, all right, here's what you got, and they had a perfect, pristine archival condition.
That's weird to me.
Is Lucas just trolling everybody about it?
Yeah.
Like, did you watch the Under the Helmet?
No. I haven't yet. No.
So there's a quote from George Lucas, and he says they were making this holiday special, and then he rolls his eyes, and it's the funniest thing I've seen, and I swear he's just playing into this joke that he absolutely hates it.
Right.
I think he kind of has, I don't know. I
don't think he enjoys it, but he doesn't really care anymore. I don't think that. So he's like, if they want to do something with it, fine.
He takes joy out of hating it.
Yeah, I think he really does dislike it.
Yeah.
And he knows that people want it, and so he leans into it by.
So I said, I think he enjoys playing the heel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've seen those. I guess there's those pictures of George Lucas was visiting some set, and he was wearing a shirt that said, "Did it say Han shot first?"
Oh.
Or did it say Greedo shot first? I don't remember what
him wearing a Greedo shot first would be great.
Either way, it's definitely pulling on the neck beards of the fandom. So
and I feel like McClunky was deliberately his last jab.
I love it.
Who knows if it was his last one? He might have all sorts of Easter eggs.
Every anniversary, we get a new George Lucas.
It gets worse and worse with each. It's just like Jar Jar squatting and taking a dump on the.
Don't mess with Jar Jar. I like the dude.
That's what I always really wanted to do, but we didn't have the budget for it.
Yeah, he steps in 3 pieces of poop with each step.
Right. Well, speaking of making a mess, one last thing about this scene, the scenes that we were talking about made me like Biggs a little bit less, because we get to see in the just Luke and Biggs one, Biggs litters. And I'm like,
does he really?
Yeah.
He does. They're talking, and when Lucas says something about
I'm gonna bring it up.
He's like, it's just one more season. Uncle Owen needs me or whatever, and he's like, oh, that's what he always says, something like that. And then Biggs just throws his cup off the ledge there, and I'm like, oh, come on, dude. I guess, but he's fresh out of the academy, so he's like, he's like, I'm the police. What are they going to do?
Well, plus you also live on a planet that's like nothing. Like,
Yeah.
Right. Me.
it's I can. I mean, I'm. But I guess it's the 70s too. So
Right.
Yeah.
it's before
It might
they
have gone
do-
straight into a dumpster.
Or maybe there's little. They should put little Roomba droids that go around, or
Yeah.
Jawas pick it up.
You wanna
Yeah.
pick up everything.
Yeah, he's just feeding the Jawas. They love
Yeah.
trash.
Also, they might be biodegradable.
Dianogus? Oh,
Dianogus.
Biodegradable Dianogas.
Little sandworms
Jeez.
and stuff.
Oh yeah, there you go.
wrong franchise.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. I almost did this weekend. I don't know.
And then that whole scene ends with a telling thing, I think, about, I don't know, again, I'm reading too much. Biggs seems to really enjoy hanging out with Luke, and at the end, Luke is just like, hey, you always be the best friend I ever had, and Biggs is like, so long, and like goes out for like a handshake. He's like, all right, so long, Luke. Have fun.
Like, where's Luke going?
It's very much that sort of big brother, little brother vibe, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
Luke idolizes Biggs. He looks up to him. He's the cool guy who gave him some time. Like, he actually seemed to give a shit about Luke and would take the time to talk to him.
Yeah.
But then as soon as he's gone, he's not going to really care about him that much. He's still going to do his own thing.
Yeah.
It also reminded me of Dead Meat from Hot Shots. Like, I'll see you around, kid.
Right.
As he walks under the ladder.
I feel like Luke is like the secret girlfriend of like Biggs is not nice to him in front of everybody, but when they're together, he'll be nice to him. But then when they're like in front of other people, he's kind of like just
give him
like
more of a hard time. Yeah.
Yeah.
They
just
were
chill
kind of
out.
close, handsy.
But it feels to me like it's like the Pink and Mitch relationship from Dazed and Confused, going back to that sort of thing. It's Pink sort of takes him under his wing. He's like, stick with me like for tonight and I'll get you into all the parties. I'll make sure no one's messing with you.
Right.
But after they go to that Aerosmith concert, like the next day, he's not going to give a shit about it.
Yeah.
Right.
What's funny is Luke is like using his uncle as an excuse not to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
The way that he
which one is
enters,
it?
he enters the Tosche Station. He's like, "Come on, get together, like get it back to work," sort of thing. It's like he is listening to his uncle. He's sort of does have begrudging respect for his uncle, but
Yeah.
he
Well,
wants...
Obi-Wan calls him on it. That's your uncle talking. He's
Yeah.
So. Well, like a lot of heroes, he's probably reluctant. Part of him he's been raised by his. We all tend to think of Uncle Owen mainly. Emperor is kind of just blue milk, but we think of Uncle Owen as like the bad guy in the story. That like he's like, no, you can't go out and have fun with your friends. But like he basically just was
He's
good
doing
raised. He's like
great.
his
Yeah.
father, really.
Yeah,
I mean,
he didn't need to do any of this.
Right. Plus, he's trying to prevent the galaxy from having another Darth Vader too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
right.
just like, hey,
He's like, God, that one dude who came here 10 years ago, or like a few years ago, just said that he was my brother and then just fucked off again. It's like, now I've got his kid to look after. Great. I didn't ask for any of this.
right.
Right.
we found out the other one. She's living in a palace in Alderaan. What the heck?
I wonder if they get.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. Do they get
Any
checks?
alimony from Bale?
Yeah. Do the Lars family get like every once in a while? Does an envelope show up from Alderaan? Are they getting?
Or Obi? Well, yeah, I guess maybe they send it to Obi-Wan, and then Obi-Wan
Just drops it off.
Right.
Yeah, sure.
Converts
Drops
it
it
into
off.
Tatooine money, and
Yeah.
drops off some.
Pox.
Maybe-
gives a little off the top for himself.
Like maybe that's some of the backstory. Maybe at first they were totally fine with Obi-Wan coming around because he was dropping off checks, but now like for the last few years he hasn't been. So that's why like Luke knows who old Ben is, but
Right.
he's like Owen is so vehemently against him. He's like, nope, screw that guy. Like he's an idiot. Like ignore him. He's not dropping off your money. Your college fund isn't going
Once-
anywhere anymore.
Like Luke
Do you
turns
think
16 or whatever, and he's like, "What legally?"
That's it. Yeah, no, not possible. Yeah.
Luke, I developed quite an online gambling problem, and the last of your checks.
It's what's funny is they talk
Canto
about
buy
Tatooine.
online.
Oh my god. They talk about Tatooine in this and say that it's like an actual like piece of crap planet that no one wants to inhabit anyway.
Yeah.
The line in Star Wars is if there's a bright center to the universe, we're on the planet that it's farthest from. I always just took that as like a metaphor. Like
Yeah.
this is a place that's just hopeless. I didn't actually
You don't think it was literally the farthest from the galaxy?
No,
That's the
no.
if.
I just it says
Luke
if
being
there's a
very
bright center to
literal.
this universe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this one kind of says more that that Biggs is saying that it is actually way out in the boonies that nobody
He's a
cares.
hillbilly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do they
One thing
say
I,
the word Tatooine in the actual final product? No, they don't, right? Oh,
Did they
No.
say the Emperor? Does Big mention the Emperor, or does he say the Empire?
He says
I
the
think he says
Empire.
Empire.
Imperial.
Like we get a lot of interesting sort of exposition about how the universe is run or the galaxy is run in this scene.
Yeah, because it sounds like what were they saying? If the planet was attacked, the Empire probably wouldn't even bother defending it.
right.
Right.
Well, plus
So-
we also learned that that like Owen has a farm, and that once the Empire takes over, they're nationalizing. This is the first, I think, first only glimpse we see of what the Empire's actual policies are regarding
Right.
people. So they're taking over industries.
Right. And well, the whole thing was I always knew growing up that it had to do with like Endor had to do with like Vietnam, where, you know, you have this grand army who gets overthrown by, you know,
Small rebel
These
force
people,
who know
yeah.
indigenous
Right.
rebel force.
But in this scene, we get things like the draft. They talk about the draft, and I'm like, oh, so this is like more on the nose. This is making Star Wars more on the nose instead of just like a, you know, what allegory, I guess.
Mm.
So I thought it was interesting. It felt more. James has to go. You got to put your laundry in the dryer.
No.
There's
I
another
might
ship
have to.
coming in.
I might have to hop off in a minute because I have a 10 o'clock call that I just.
Just before you go, Pete, you're probably the only person who read at least the beginning of the Last Jedi novelization. Am I right?
You're not right in that the only person, but I definitely did read the beginning and then I lost it somewhere. But yes,
Yeah.
I read the part relevant to this scene.
I was
Yeah,
gonna say that's what I wanted to bring up, because in that, like, Luke he wakes up from a dream that he's having where he's still on Tatooine. He never met the droids, basically, and the adventure never happened. But he's married to Cammy, and he's kind of living an okay life. He seems vaguely happy, and it's like, did the droids coming ruin his life? And I just thought it was interesting seeing that, and I think that's the first sort of canon, or new canon anyway, like mention of Cammy and Fixer and all of those guys, and this scene essentially.
Are novelizations canon?
I believe.
Yeah.
I think they've sort of said it again. It's like, unless it's contradicted in a
Who
film.
cares? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not gonna read it.
but yeah, it's an interesting. Like, I don't think it. I think, you know, that's his. Basically, grass is always greener. Kind of. I don't know if he knows what grass is, but he's thinking, you know, the sand is always yellower or whatever.
Over the Sarlacc pit.
Moisture. The sand is always. Yeah, like he's just picturing like, oh, then I would have had this nice life, but it's totally this, you know, fantasy of like the only girl from their crew is the one that he married, and then they settled down into this, you know, like he hated being on the farm when he was there, but then in his other, you know, in this fantasy, he was just like, oh yeah, and then I'll live a happy farm life. And then he would go back, you know, after like 2 days of that, he would be like, oh wait, this is terrible. I hate this. I forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it
And
just
plus-
like that dream scene always reminds me of, I think it's like a promo still of Cammy sort of stood at the back of the Tosche Station, and it's like there's an entire like lake there, isn't there? I think there's a promo shot of what's her name?
Kustar.
That's it, yeah. And I think it's just from where they shot it.
I never saw.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that one.
I think
Yeah. I'll try and bring it up.
in
I'll pop
reality,
it up.
like
I'll pop it up
in
during post.
Tunisia, there is a lake there, but like Obi-Wan's hut is a you know, is basically a fishing shack, and there are lakes around, but I've never seen the one with her kind of standing. In front
She's
of it.
just sort of stood there looking out over it. It looks like very regal, and it's a good shot. I just remember it would have been like an insider interview years and years ago with her about that, and how, you know, what her memories are of the scene and everything like that, and they use that image, and it just sort of always stuck with me. It's one of those ones
In my head,
similar to the
her family are like the water barons, the local, like they're like she's like the Veronica Lodge of the Tosche Station. Like her family has a lot of water. So they're so that's why
all the little farmers are sort of paying their dues to her family.
And she's the one who
Well,
she
Pete,
teases him the most. Calls him wormy and all that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
Pete, you have to split.
I do. Sorry, guys. This is really fun. Thank you.
It's all right. Thank you
Yeah,
for coming.
we'll put in all your plugs. We'll keep Alex on for a little bit more to finish out
Sure.
the plugs. But yeah, thanks for joining
I got
us.
nothing to do.
And
All right.
but
Thanks a lot,
yeah.
guys. Take care.
yeah, see ya.
See you later, Pete.
Oh, accidentally
Now,
dumped James.
okay. Yeah.
Pete dumped himself before I dumped him, and James was the next one to pop into the queue.
Sure.
But this scene, I love it. I'm glad that it exists so I can see it and picture like another world or another part of this universe. Whether it's canon or not doesn't matter. I'm glad I get to see it. Whether it's in the movie or not, it doesn't matter. But I have one question. What is Tosche Station? Is it a gas station? Is it what kind of a station is it?
It feels
It's
like
just the
a sort of
garage.
a part, part sort of local hangout spot, part shop.
Like a rec center?
Yeah, like a rec center, but also gas station. I feel like that's a good explanation for it.
I think of it as just kind of like it's like a crossroads where there happens to be like the post office, a garage, and like a
yeah,
the
like
only
out
place in the
a-
area where
yeah.
people can go, where locals go to. Like, there's probably like a small store, there's like food supplies and
for the local farmers, basically,
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
4 or 5
Yeah.
local homesteads, and then
Yeah.
you get a little bit closer, you got Anchorhead, and then you
You
really
never
go
see
into
Anchorhead,
town.
right? Anchorhead is never seen, right? Not even in the Mandalorian or anything.
No,
I don't think
Yeah.
so.
no,
But the other Moss something in the Mandalorian, where the
Moss elbow.
Moss.
Moss. Ah, shit. James.
It
you-
is.
you
It's
know, right?
no.
Moss.
It is. It's. You're
It's
on the
what-
right
what's
track.
His name is.
Yeah,
Moss.
it sounds
I mean,
like that. No, I
But
can't
anyway,
pull it.
but we've never seen Anchorhead, so I'm curious as to what it,
How
it- is
big?
it- yeah,
Yeah.
Is it
Maybe that's
old
what we
Mos
see in the
Eisley big?
trailer,
Maybe.
where we see that hammerhead.
No
Right,
way.
yeah.
That place looked way too big to be. I always took
You
Anchorhead
don't think
as
that would be
not.
Anchorhead?
No, that looks like that place looks big. I don't think that's Tatooine. It looks far
Alright.
too big.
We'll see.
You don't think special edition Mos Eisley is
I don't
big?
think it has an entire crater with big towers and stuff
Oh
like that.
yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
It looks,
Anyway,
find out.
really big. Yeah.
I guess
We're gonna
we'll
find out that that's like the capital of Tatooine, and that even like Mos Eisley and Mos Espa are nothing in comparison.
that's Tosche
Right.
Station in the new in the new canon.
Yep.
Right.
Although I wonder, did Luke being from Tatooine increase like tourism? You know what I mean? Like
After it was the
like Luke Skywalker
Post
grew up-
Jedi, when it's
Yeah.
all like revealed,
Yeah.
no more Empire, maybe.
I mean, clearly Rey just walks up to his house like it's nothing, and there's no like markers or
there
Yeah,
should
it's
be-
not. No one's moved in. No one's like made it
Yeah.
a tourist attraction.
so.
There's probably something. There's probably a sign
Mhm.
in Mos Eisley or something. Like when you go to like Omaha, Nebraska, it says like the home of Johnny Carson or whatever.
right.
Like there's
yeah.
probably something like that.
They dug up the gravestones.
Yeah.
Shmi Skywalker buried here.
She's in a minute stuffed in a museum somewhere. She belongs in a museum. Shmi belongs in a museum.
I think it would have been quite nice if they sort of paid homage to like the actual location and had turned it into a hotel.
Yeah. Oh, that would be funny.
Like she goes there and like she just rents
Yeah.
Luke's room for the night.
Yeah.
Like I want to stay in the
An
Skywalker
Airbnb.
suite. Yeah, that's it.
The Lars Airbnb.
Yeah.
I'd
Did you
stay.
interpret the end of of Rise of Skywalker as in that she is moving into that house, or she's just stopping by there to kind of say hello?
I think she's just
I-
stopping by to
Just
bury
stopping
those
by?
lightsabers there.
Yeah. For some
I
reason.
kind of just assumed she was moving in. But she has the Falcon, and I'm assuming Chewie is there with her. He doesn't want to live on Tatooine.
No,
Well, maybe
I
he's just
still,
dropping her
feel-
off, and then he's gonna leave, and she stays there.
Oh,
I like to think that like he lent her the Falcon. I feel like R2's hanging with her now for whatever reason.
for her story
Um,
arc, I think it works that it's her house because she
She lived
grew
in
up
Takes the
in
name.
AT-AT.
Takes
She
the
lived in
name.
an
I'll take
AT-AT.
the house.
Yeah. So,
The fact that the house was never signed off to a Skywalker means nothing. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
And
I just
the
can't believe
amount
also,
of
yeah. That
the
place
amount
would
of
have been
rock she
buried
could
after
move.
30 years.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. She could clean it out real easy.
I was going to
with
say,
the
it was
amount of
pretty
rock she could
buried.
move.
Yeah. She does love moving rocks.
It's a good trick.
All right. I think I don't have much more to say. Anybody else have anything else?
No, I think we got it.
This is a
I
nice
was happy
good
to
5-minute
revisit
scene.
classic Star Wars. I'll
Yes.
say that.
Yeah, that's the reason why I did it. This episode is airing just a couple weeks before we start our live coverage of Book of Boba Fett. We're going to be on hopefully every Wednesday live where people can join us and chat with us in the chat room.
Wow.
So yeah, I kind of wanted to do something classic trilogy, but I didn't feel like doing a whole movie.
Yeah.
So this was the
Awkward.
next episode. Uh-oh, James.
Well,
James is
while
picking-
you're teasing it, it's my pick next. So for the next episode in 2 weeks' time, I was going to pick the Under the Helmet, the Boba Fett special, but
Which
as
we
we
already
covered
did.
that as a special because Disney Plus Day was a bit of a letdown otherwise, I went back to my original pick and I want to do Return of the Jedi.
Awesome.
We've sort of been on a bit of a Boba Fett theme loosely, like things that have got Boba Fett in. So let's do his original demise. Let's cover that movie.
Sounds good.
The whole film or just the Boba Fett
Yeah.
part?
The whole film. The whole film.
Yeah. We've covered only 3 films on the show so far.
Mhm.
Solo,
Everyone's favorites.
Solo, Attack of the Clones, and that clunker, The Empire Strikes Back. So
I was gonna say I was gonna ask if you were doing the Clone Wars movie, but that doesn't fall under that's not implied in your mandate.
No.
So.
It's not in my
no.
our
In
mandate.
fact, I almost squashed all that Lego talk real fast. I was really not. I was okay with the toy talk.
I was gonna say.
I know. Pete wanted to get it out while he could. That's fine.
Yeah.
But
You guys brought up Rebels
Lego.
too, so
Yes,
I did.
Yeah.
That was my fault.
Yeah.
So Alex,
yes.
you're part of Star Wars Minute. It's a daily podcast that analyzes, scrutinizes, and celebrates Star Wars movies 1 minute at a time.
Yes. We also limit it to live action movies, so
Yeah. You guys recently finished the Last Jedi. You're
Mhm.
coming up on Solo. I can't wait to hear your take on it.
Yes.
I think you might have a different take than I do.
Mhm.
And why is he here? He's here.
He's back.
That was it. My
Uh-oh.
call was quick, so I decided
Somehow.
to come back. to that.
He just
has
wanted to get his
returned.
plugs in. He just
Somehow,
came
yeah.
in to get the plugs.
I know. I wanted
I
to
was
make
just
sure
ripping
Alex
on
was-
you.
Yeah.
I was ripping on you for talking about the
kinda started-
animated Lego movies.
Started the whole show over.
Hmm.
Redo
It's
it.
a period of civil war.
But yeah, you guys are doing Solo up next. Hopefully soon. I feel like maybe sooner than later. And I can't wait to see your thoughts on it.
It is one that we did Solo as our very first episode of live action Star Wars, because it is a movie that both Ralph and I really like and had stuff to say about. Like from out this window that I'm looking at now, I can see sort of a lot of the cranes that were used as the Corellian like plate shots and stuff like that. They filmed a lot of it at Power Station, like just down the road and stuff. So it's always been a film that's been special to me for those elements, as well as just enjoying it as a fun film.
Yeah. Do you guys have any expectations coming up? Do you think opinions will change? I don't know what your opinions are. I think Pete thinks more positively of it than Alex.
I think
Do
this
you
is
find
true.
yourself?
Yeah. Although I think maybe I forced this on Alex, but I decided, but we talked about it, that I think the theme is Solo, a Star Wars party. That's going to be our theme for next season, and we're going to try to play up the fun aspects of it. We're going to.
Great.
I thought you
It's
said
gonna
a
be
Star
nonstop
Wars
fun.
potty.
That's you're going to keep doing that. You're going to every episode you're going to be like more like a potty and thumbs down and give a raspberry.
Just real lean into that Boston accent.
Right.
But in addition to that, there's you guys have your own podcast. ABCDTOS is currently going on. I listen to that weekly.
Thanks.
That's Pete's podcast. He does that with 3 other folks.
Mhm.
Tom, Joe, and
John. It's Joe and John.
Very-
It's still almost the same name, but that's not. Yeah, that's
Well, yeah,
the Star Trek, the original series, which is
yeah.
another fun thing.
Each episode alphabetically, which I started watching the series for the first time when you guys started,
Oh, right.
and I've long since finished miraculously. I finished Star Trek season.
Did you go alphabetical or by season order?
Well, I asked Pete about that, and I'm like, I'll just do it normal because I thought about going along with the show and just watching it that way. But it was quarantine, and I just powered through. I actually started enjoying it and wanted to see the next one. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. And Alex has a Godfather minute. You're on Godfather Part 2, correct?
Yeah, we are about 40 minutes into Godfather Part 2, which means we have about 130 minutes left.
Okay.
Now, when you get the part
That one's
3,
weekly
will
as
you
well,
do-
right?
What's that?
That's
you
weekly
get
as
the part-
well, isn't it?
That is weekly. Yeah, we
Yeah,
do
it's
1 minute
weekly.
a week. So it's
it's like-
It's going to be around for a while.
It's gonna be a long one, yeah.
A while.
We don't know if we're gonna do Godfather 3 minute by minute. We recently did a Godfather 3 commentary track.
What about the redo? Whatever it's called, the Redux.
Coda, the death of Michael Corleone.
Yeah, is it better?
I haven't seen it yet. I hear it's not as different as people might have hoped because it's just they just did they did this slight editing. It's not like they did any reshoots or you can't change it too substantially. So, but we put it to our page. We have a Patreon and we did our commentary. And we said, do you want us to do Godfather 3 commentary or do you want us to do Coda, the death of Michael Corleone? And people voted for Godfather 3. I was kind of surprised. I would have thought people would have chosen Michael Corleone, but we serve at the pleasure of the Patreons, as we all are familiar. So,
Well, speaking of Godfather, real quick, earlier when we were talking about mixing in these deleted scenes that we had been talking about, that's something we brought up before, Alex. I think that'd be an interesting thing to happen. Is that the way that Godfather, what was it called when they edited the whole thing into one
Chronological.
6-hour monster or something like that or more.
Yeah.
I don't know. So if you do that with Star Wars, then because you're not, this is not how you're meeting. It's not like your first introduction to the movie. You could have it like almost like Ralph said, like a post credits. So was it Ralph? Which one of you said post credits sting for
Me?
For Rogue One? But so when you put Rogue One in there and then have Luke looking up at it, and that's your transition between the two movies.
Yeah.
That'd be the next Topher Grace edit.
Right, there you go.
Right.
I think.
Well, James told me he watched a version of Revenge of the Sith that included Clone Wars stuff.
Yeah, the end of the last arc of the last bit of Clone Wars.
That sounds like too much.
It was really good. It's really well done. Like they've got the music across both, so they pulled the relevant score from whichever one and sort of interlaced it. And it's excellent. It's all the Mandalore stuff.
And this is animated stuff, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. But if I recommend that final episode, 3 episodes of Clone Wars.
I'll second that emotion.
It takes place congruent with Revenge of the Sith. So I know, Pete, you're not the biggest Revenge of the Sith fan, but
it's basically like, where was Ahsoka during Revenge of the Sith?
It's the radio drama. It's the radio drama of Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
It works really well.
You make me maybe I'll just listen to it without watching it.
Dude, you know what? I was listening to the prequels. I was working on the computer. I had the prequels on. They're much more entertaining just to listen to.
Wow.
Like if you're just listening to the dialogue, it's not acted great, but I think on par with radio drama, it works just fine.
I think a different way of saying that is that if you only listen to it, it's only half as bad because that way you're
I've become a crazy prequel enjoyer lately in the last couple of years. It is crazy, and I swear by this. Watch them in reverse order. I know it goes against your mandate, Pete, but if you watch them in reverse order, you can kind of see how Lucas wrote these. like this is the goal.
Right.
How are we going to get to the goal? And it might not have been the best way to work backwards, but it feels like
like Agatha
You
Christie
can see what he
style.
was doing better.
What's the solution to the murder? Okay, now let me backtrack and
I think that's
Yeah.
kind of the weakness of them, because it feels like he didn't think about anything other than the ending, and so there's basically like no characters
But yeah,
that have any other thing. There's no other stories going on besides, is Anakin going to turn evil or not?
Yeah, or how
And
does
the
he do
thing-
it? When does he get there? Yeah.
Yeah.
the thing that cracks me up is the last like 10 minutes of Sith where they just like, oh shit, we got to get to
yeah,
episode 4, and they just start cramming everything in, and he's just cramming. He's like, oh shit, wipe C-3PO's memory. All right, we're good.
Yeah.
Print.
wait, we
Send
didn't
it
finish the lesson on World War II. We won. You know that. Kind of,
Right.
So you think they just shot the whole film in order, and it was like the last day, and they're like, "Oh my god, we didn't include all the stuff we needed to do."
Why does 3PO know all this stuff? Yeah.
right.
The 3PO thing's like only in the digital version. It didn't go out on the film.
It got added a week later after
It's a
release.
guy in a green bodysuit, and they're like, "Oh, we'll put the special effects in later."
Oh my! I need my.
Yeah, it's just dialogue
there-
from off screen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and we'll say Mo.
exactly.
I think we're good. Wait, James, you said what we're doing next time. We're watching
Yep, we're
Return of
gonna
the
watch
Jedi.
Return of the Jedi. Yep.
heard of it.
It's really, I'm not doing it to be spiteful. But it really, the more that I've watched Star Wars movies in the last couple of years, and the more that once I allowed it to leave the unimpeachable bubble of the original trilogy, I had this, like once I let go of that feeling, then Return of the Jedi just sank like a rock in my rankings. It's just like it dropped way down.
Wow.
I was like, it recovered some in my heart going to see it on the big screen at the El Capitan Theater here when right around May the 4th, I think last year they did. Friday was Star Wars, Saturday was Empire, Sunday was Jedi.
Right.
And
That was this year, I think.
yeah, that was this past May the 4th. Did I say last year? I don't know.
I think
Time's
it's
all a
last
big
year.
blur.
Yeah. Anyway,
That reminds me of why I originally picked it as well. And it's because in a couple of weeks' time, I'm going to see it with a live orchestra playing the score.
Oh, yeah.
that's
So
cool.
we'll
that
be
would be
recording it after that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll
And
have seen
it's-
that, and that'll be my latest viewing of it. Will be with that one.
Going back to that sentiment of like, best and most enjoyable, not always at all the same thing. And so Return of the Jedi is, the more I look at it critically, the lower it goes. But then going to see it in the theater, I was like, oh, I enjoy this. And it's not, I can just be a part
It's
of it.
top 3 for most enjoyable for me. I love it. The space battle stuff at the end is my favorite Star Wars space battle.
Because Wedge is the hero.
I mean,
You
mostly
have
because
that.
of which, yeah,
You have the
Yeah,
helmet.
right.
it's right there.
For me, it's like it's kind of like The Last Jedi. Like, it has some of my favorite Star Wars stuff in it, but it also has some of my least favorite Star Wars stuff in it. And most of that favorite stuff, it comes from the Luke storyline.
Right.
I love Luke Skywalker, and yeah. So
I think that's an interesting parallel. I think that, the Luke Emperor and Vader, fantastic stuff, and just the same way Luke, Rey, and
Ben,
Snoke and
Kylo.
Ben are the best parts of The Last Jedi.
For sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just like Luke Skywalker.
It's just they two aren't often
Feels-
they're not sort of talked about in the same way that like Last Jedi and Empire seem to get referred to a lot. I mean, yeah, you've got it there, I've got it there.
Got one somewhere.
Yeah.
Just took them off.
But yeah, like The Last Jedi and Return of the Jedi. Ralph just
Sorry.
showed us his butthole. Trying to get us
Sorry,
pinged on
it's,
YouTube.
it's someone made a pin of just this, and I'm
What is
I'm
that? I don't
debating
know
on what it's Rey's lightsaber,
Oh, okay.
but the top of it looks
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
First, I thought that was
Steve.
the new sandworm, but no.
it's
almost
similar.
New Sandworm.
Cool.
all
Return
right.
of the Jedi.
Let's fizzle this out.
Of the
Do
Jedi.
puppet movies count as live action? Like, I know it's
Yeah.
does Dark Crystal count as a live action even though it's all puppets?
I believe so. Yeah,
Was there a
As long as
Star
it's
Wars
shot.
puppet movie?
Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. I walked into that one, didn't I?
All right. Well, until next time, you can visit Live Action Star Wars. That's our YouTube page, or liveactionsw.com. That's our website. And follow us on all socials at Live Action SW. Also, head over to StarWarsMinute.com and check out the Star Wars Minute podcast.
I mean, if you're
with
watching
Pete and
us and
Alex.
you haven't listened to Star Wars Minute, I mean, why are you here? I mean,
And if you
really,
came
You
over
are
here- and if you came over here because Pete and Alex are here, thanks for joining us, and
Yes.
hopefully you subscribe.
Yeah, please subscribe.
Your guys' show is awesome. We both love it, and we're very much looking forward to Solo. And yeah, it's for me, it's a party. So hopefully,
Solo, Star
hopefully
Wars
that
party.
comes through on the show. So yeah, until next time, may the Force be with you.
Live
Punch it.
action Star Wars.
Hang on, I'm gonna switch browsers because that's happened before.
EV99 is what you sound like. So give us some EV99 lines.
You are an interpreter droid, are you not?
That's pretty good.
Whoa!
That's a dead-on Richard
Save-
Marquand impression.
Save that setting.
All right, I'm gonna be right back in a different browser.
All right.
I'm going to be right back in a different browser.
I'm so glad I had that recorded.